Terry McAulay, NBC Sunday Night Football rules analyst, former NFL official who joins us on the program. Terry, good morning. I've been railing on this fumbling out of the end zone for a few years now. We saw it again last night. I saw you had some tweets. I'm assuming we're on the same page of how do we change this rule, and if we do, what do we do with it?
Well, good morning, Dan. But from my tweets, how can you think we're on the same page? In fact, it's taken me to now to get to a decision. I think I've heard your arguments. I've heard a lot of the arguments, and they're pretty strong that we need to change this. But I think the play last night, Dan, I think it's the one that finally got me to say the rule's right where it is. And I'll tell you, I think because the end zone is special, and what the Saints player did last night was very risky. I think it's safe to say when you reach the ball out that you're creating a really great risk of losing it, because especially through the end zone, because you lose the ball.
Okay.
But the reward, is pretty great. The ultimate reward is 6 points. You don't get a bigger reward in the game of football. So it's a risk-reward situation. I'm going to risk taking the ball out from under my arm where it's great control and I'm probably not going to lose it to putting it out there where the Carolina defender last night made a great play, knocked it out.
So you would keep the rule as it is. You wouldn't change anything?
I would not, Dan. No,
okay.
No,
if you were ordered to come up with a way to modify it, what would be the alternative?
I think you to be consistent, I don't like special rules in general. So I think I'd want to be consistent with the current possession rule out of bounds. If you fumble it forward out of bounds, you just bring it back to the spot. I think if you make it up and let's put it at the 10, let's put it at the 20, let's do something else that seems to be something that you just make up and to figure out, well, we needed to change it and let's do something that seems reasonable. I don't like that concept. I like consistency, and bringing it back to the spot would be the most consistent answer.
Yeah, I was even saying let's say I'm diving for the pylon and I'm trying to score and the ball goes out of bounds through the end zone. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to be penalized for trying to try to score a touchdown. Nobody did it. I can be diving, lose the ball, and a defender's not even there. So is the rule applicable to something like that?
I think it is. I don't lose the football.
Okay.
Fumbling is one of the worst things you can do. I mean, that's you deserve something bad to happen to you, and in most cases, if you fumble the football, and I just think if you make it less likely to lose the football, then we may see more fumbles because they may try some things, unintended consequences.
Okay, so we're not on the same page, and that's fine. But you'll come around eventually when they change the rule.
Well, I did on the extra point. I didn't like that when they moved it to the 15-yard line a few years ago, but I have come around there.
Because, Terry, if you started out and you said, okay, we're going to have the rules of football, and we're going to put in a rule for an extra point where 99% of the time it's successful. Mm-hmm. Can you think of another rule in any other sport where you have a rule where you go 99% of the time you're going to be successful? And that's why I always wondered with the extra point why it was, almost pedestrian-like. Like I can kick an extra point. This is 99% of the time. So that's why I wondered if you came up with the rules of football now, you would never have an extra point at, where it was at the 2.5-yard line.
And you're right. And I've come around to that viewpoint. I think it's exciting that we have missed extra points now.
Here's another thing. Now, we're talking to Terry McAulay, NBC Sunday Night Football rules analyst, former official. Why is it an offensive lineman can't hold, right? He's not supposed to be able to hold. He can't grab and pull, but a defensive lineman can grab and pull, correct?
Correct. If he's trying to get to the runner, yes. If he's trying to get to the runner, get through that block, he can grab and pull him out of the way, yes.
Okay. But so they're combatants. So I got an offensive lineman who can hold, a defensive lineman who can hold.
Correct.
Okay.
Now there are some situations where the defensive lineman cannot hold. If you've got a center trying to get out to block to the second level,
Yeah.
he can't be grabbed and held and restricted from getting out to that second level block. It is illegal to do that.
Why don't we just eliminate offensive holding?
Well, because I really like defense, and I don't want to get to a point where it's like a game of horse and basketball with two great shooters, and you just stay there all day till somebody misses. If you allow the offense to hold, the quarterback, every quarterback, whether it be the worst quarterback I've ever seen, if he has long enough to throw the football, he's going to look like a great quarterback. So I got to give something to the defense here.
Oh, I'm all for that, but we're well past that because, and then once we get to the postseason, it feels like every year the postseason officiating feels different than the regular season, whether it is conscious or subconscious here. Did you feel that way when you were officiating?
I didn't, and I'm going to speak for myself mostly, but, I obviously have a lot of friends that officiate as well. For me, every play was the same. It didn't matter. It was week one of the preseason, week one of regular season, last play of the Super Bowl. It's just for those 7 seconds, I'm working the play based on the guidance and the rules I've got, and I'm going to make a judgment as best I can. Do maybe you give a little extra effort to make absolutely certain, which you really should do every play, that you don't make an incorrect call. That may come into play subconsciously. It may come in as part of the pressure of the playoffs. But it really shouldn't. It really needs to be the same for every single play. And I do believe that the teams are better in the playoffs. You're going to get better football, and you're going to have less chance of fouls. I mean, on Sunday Night Football, we've had the best teams, and we don't have very many fouls on Sunday Night Football.
What rule do you think will be changed in the offseason? Or should be?
That is a great question. I don't think it'll change the use of helmet, but they're going to have a lot better guidelines in the off seasons. I think there's a chance, and now that I mentioned that, I do think there's a chance they may bring replay in for player safety fouls. I've just come around to that conclusion myself. I just think it's time when it's player safety. The Michael Thomas hit last night, I believe that's who it was. They just missed it, and I don't think you can miss those plays anymore. But
explain how you would try to enforce this or police this.
Well, I think when it comes to is there a foul for a hit on an illegal hit on a defensive player, is it a clear and obvious play that we've seen where he lowers the head, he approaches, lowers the head, and makes forcible contact by the runner or to the runner? Then I think replay should have, without coach's challenge, the ability to make sure that player is penalized. Again, it would have to be very narrowly written. Maybe a lot smarter minds than I have or that I am could come up with the exact way to do it. But we just can't have some of these. And the officials on the field do get most of them, but the misses are so glaringly obvious that I don't think we can keep doing that.
Have fun on Sunday night. It'll be the Chiefs at the Seahawks. Terry, safe travels, and thanks for joining us, as always.
Thanks very much, Dan.
That's Terry McAulay, NBC Sunday Night Football rules analyst, former NFL official, and we're not on the same page.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.